Hello, YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about free agency, everything that's happened so far since we last spoke about 24 hours ago. But we need you to help us grow. Hit subscribe. And when you hit subscribe, when there's Deshaun Watson breaking news or something, that way you'll know when we're going live with an episode. So subscribe to the channel, hit like, and here we go. It is day 2 of NFL free agents. Z. Get it? Snooze fest. Not much going on today or last night, but we do have maybe some sleeper wide receivers emerging. We had Russell Gage going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There's other things.
I think we're done. What else?
No.
What happened?
We've got Evan Ingram going to the Doug Peterson offense. We've got Antonio Gibson being set free.
DJ
Chark.
DJ Chark is going to play for the Lions.
JD McKissic killing Devin Singletary.
Well, yeah, we do have some stuff to talk about. It's not the sexiest show, but there is plenty of news, and who knows, in the next half hour or so, maybe we'll get some more. Heath, you didn't really get a chance on the full-length show yesterday since you weren't on, to talk about, all the other stuff, like the Christian Kirk signing. So we'll talk about all of that. We have some listener hot takes. What do you want to lead with, Heath? What's exciting right now?
I gave you some hot takes on your tweet.
What was my tweet?
When you asked for the hot takes, I quote tweeted it with my 5 hot takes. I thought maybe you would have seen those, but you don't see my tweets. You get me muted. I knew you had Chris muted, but I didn't think I tweeted quite as much as him.
Wow, you muted Chris?
I don't mute anyone.
Wow, well, you mute Ryan Wilson. We know that.
James Conner and Dalvin Cook. Okay, go ahead. You can read them.
James Conner and Dalvin Cook are basically the Spider-Man meme going into this year. Antonio Gibson's a top 5 running back if they don't add somebody else significant. Russell Gage is going to be better than DJ Chark. Mitchell Trubisky's an upgrade for the Steelers offense over what they've had the last 2 years.
Pretty hot. So hot right now. Antonio Gibson, top 5. He only averaged 3.1, I think, catches per game without McKissic. Something like 2.3 with McKissic. But there's room for more, obviously. But
yeah, Jared Patterson.
Sure.
No, I think Jared Patterson will he gets into that. Not the what's the second level? Not the Kareem Hunt level, but the running backs who are going to have a role. But if the other guy goes down, will be starters. He's in that group.
I think he's a little better than that. I think a lot more work than we expect.
All right, so wait, let's break that down. James Conner, and I can talk about James Conner all day, like I did yesterday. James Conner and Dalvin Cook are the Spider-Man. I mean, that is the dumbest thing I've ever. That is so.
Wait, just to go back to all of your James Conner takes since he's joined the Cardinals. When he joined the Cardinals, you liked him better than Chase Edmonds.
Originally, then I flipped.
Then you flipped.
Yeah.
And you went to Edmonds. You should have stuck with Conner because Conner was better.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Then Conner became the guy for those 5 games. And you were back all in, which understandably so was correct. Now Conner gets a 3-year deal to stay with the team that made him successful last year, and you hate him.
Look, as much as I could love James Conner, I could never love him more than YPC. I just don't know. Well, obviously, it just depends on what they do. If he's going to be a big part of the passing game, then I'll like him. But I think they're just to call him Dalvin Cook is a slap in the face to all the people who've been following YPC for as long as I have.
I do not think he'll be near as good as Dalvin Cook in YPC leagues, but they will both be 27-year-old running backs who have top 3, top 2 upside if everything goes right, who are probably going to miss somewhere between 4 and 6 games due to injury.
That's a lot of games.
When's the last time Dalvin's missed 4 to 6 games?
What did he play last year?
I think he missed 3 games and left 1 early. I think he missed 3 games last year.
Okay, 3 to 5.
Okay, 3 to 5.
And
he missed 4 games. He missed 4 games last year. He's played 14, 14, and 13 games the last 3 seasons.
Well, 2 years ago he missed 1 because of the death of his father.
That's right.
Well, he's had 3 shoulder injuries in the last 4 years. He's definitely amongst the most injury-prone running backs, I thought.
Yes. We don't have to. Yeah, we can agree on that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So how about this? Are there any sleeper wide receivers that have emerged? You've got Isaiah McKenzie, back with Buffalo. Allen Lazard looks like he's going to stay in Green Bay. They tendered him a second round offer. Zay Jones to Jacksonville. What are you doing, Jacksonville? Russell Gage to Tampa Bay. Cedric Wilson back to Miami. Maybe a guy like Rondale Moore in Arizona.
Not back to Miami, going to Miami.
Sorry, going to Miami from Dallas.
Don't confuse him with Albert Wilson. Or like what I did yesterday, confuse Jamal Agnew with Chris Conley.
Well, I do that all the time. Are there any sleeper wide receivers that you guys are getting excited about?
I think Rondale Moore, now that there's potential for him to have a bigger role for the Cardinals if no one of significance is brought back or drafted as it stands right now. I think you look at Russell Gage, depending on Chris Godwin's timeline, but stepping into Antonio Brown's role. He's not Antonio Brown. He doesn't have the rapport with Brady, but there's an opportunity there if Godwin's not ready to go by the start of the season. McKenzie would only be if Beasley goes and nobody else comes in return. But Gallup in Dallas, I guess you put him in that category, right?
I don't know. I feel like he'll be somewhere around 100th. I guess I meant like deep sleeper, late round flyer. I don't know.
Well, Gage and Gallup, I don't think will be that far apart because people get excited about the Tampa Bay situation.
Yeah, what do you think about the Tampa Bay situation with Russell Gage now?
Like I said, there's an opening with. First off, we'll probably find out between now and tomorrow at this time that Gronk is back because I think it's in their financial benefit to bring him back before the league year starts, if I saw that correctly. So if assuming that is the case, and you have Gronk, Godwin, Evans all on the field week 1, I think Russell Gage will probably be overdrafted. If you have any sort of delay in Godwin's return, then I think Gage has some early season upside, but he's not Antonio Brown. And, I think Russell Gage took advantage of an amazing opportunity last year when Calvin Ridley was off the field and Matt Ryan really had nobody else to rely on aside from him and Pitts. Tom Brady doesn't necessarily have to worry about that.
Heath, anything to add there? Do you think he's fantasy relevant, Russell Gage, if Godwin and Evans are healthy?
I think he'll be a number 4 wide receiver if Godwin and Evans are healthy. A mid-range flex, but there will probably be a few weeks where one of the two of them is not there. And it may be at the beginning of the season because Godwin's not ready. And so I do think he could have some weekly appeal if it's just Evans or just Godwin.
Allen Lazard caught 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games of the season. He started playing in the slot a little bit more, whereas Russell Gage actually started playing outside a little bit more last year. But toward the end of 2021, you saw Lazard play in the slot more and have some success. In his last 5 games, he 290 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's a pace of 986 yards and 17 touchdowns, which is better than Christian Kirk's 17-game pace in his for any season of his career. But yeah, I mean, look, MVS looks like he won't be back. They got this Davante Adams situation, but gosh, I mean, could I make the case that why are we talking about this? Can I make the case that Allen Lazard is better right now than Russell Gage if he's back with the Packers, of course?
You could make that case. I would probably lean towards Gage's direction, but we know it's the interesting thing will be is if Davante Adams keeps his word and they haven't got him signed to an extension yet. What if we get to week 1, Allen Lazard is number 1 wide receiver for the Packers?
I think it's a floor versus ceiling situation. I think the end of season numbers will probably be better for Allen Lazard, but the highs and lows will probably favor Russell Gage.
I think the Bucs will draft a wide receiver in day 2
and move on from Tyler Johnson.
I mean, they gave Gage 3 years. I think it was $20 million guaranteed. That'd be a weird place to spend resources with Evans and Godwin and Gage, but they need something for the future. I'm just not sure they're thinking about the future when you have Tom Brady at quarterback. Every year could be the year that you start to rebuild.
And to your point, Adam, though, Godwin might price himself out of staying there and might want to leave after 2 consecutive franchise tags. So they could be looking to find a long-term upside play, but I'd be surprised if that's what they did.
All right. You remember that. Remember this day, because I'm going to forget. As soon as we're off the show, I'm going to forget. I predict Schrager, write it down. Bucs day 2, take a wide receiver.
See, but what you should have done was you should have gone all in on Amari Rodgers again, because if there's no Davante Adams and there's no MVS, then Amari Rodgers might be the guy in Green Bay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Maybe not, though.
You're known for your patience with your rookie wide receiver takes.
Yes, when you drop Justin Jefferson for Peyton Barber.
Okay, listen.
I do think there is some upside for Rondale Moore. If they can get him into that Christian Kirk role, and then we saw him and Chase Edmonds do some similar things at times last year. Maybe Connor stays and it's sharing with Eno Benjamin, and Rondale Moore gets a little bit of the Chase Edmonds role from last year and the Christian Kirk role. Did you like my new nickname for him? What was the other tweet that I sent you the notification for? Placebo Samuel.
Placebo Samuel.
Rondale Moore, because he's going to take over the Chase Edmonds role and the Christian Kirk role. Debo Samuel. Placebo Samuel.
I know.
No,
yeah,
you're not getting it.
I'm not getting it at all. So
it's a terrible job.
Just join our bracket challenge. I understand there's been some issues with the link. We're working on it. I will put a link in the Christian Kirk. The same day. Rondale Moore managers have him filling both roles. Rondale Moore officially Placebo Sam. I don't really think it worked. JB, like, what do you think?
No. It's well, thankfully Twitter liked it more than you guys.
So I made a dad joke up, Heath. Would you like to hear it?
No, not now.
What did the farmer say about the lost vegetable?
What did the farmer say about the lost vegetable?
I
don't know.
It'll turn up.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. All right, join our bracket challenge. Hold on, I have to get the copy for this. Make sure I do this right. So yeah, like I said, I know people have had some issues with the bracket link. We'll put one in the episode description that absolutely works. We're working on getting a shorter one for you, but we want you to compete with us in the bracket challenge. I'm going to be in it. Heath's going to be in it. I feel like Heath did really well last year and don't know how. Jamie's going to be in it. Dave's going to be in it. Chris is going to be in it. So right now, if you go to cbssports.com/FFT brackets, hopefully that will work. If not, again, I got the longer link in the episode description, but you join it. It's free to join. You get to fill out a bracket. That's incredibly fun every single year. You don't have to have it done until Thursday, even though they're playing games start tonight, I assume. And you got two great prizes here. You can be in the podcast listeners league if you win, and you get a $100 gift card for Paramount Plus. Heath has told me that the new Scream movie is actually not that bad, and it's on Paramount Plus.
No, I'm gonna watch good. It's good.
Good. Okay.
It's good, yes.
You don't believe, maybe I just don't believe you. I think I'll settle for not that bad. But just anyway, join the bracket challenge. We do it every year. It's going to be super fun. And if you win, you're in the podcast league and get a $100 gift card to Paramount Plus. Okay. Let's do some listener hot takes. But first, I do want to let Heath know that all the Erdles have taken over my life. Of course, I do Wordle. Of course, I do Quordle because of you. I also do Nerdle, the math problem one, sometimes. And now I'm on to Hurdle, which is the music one. Have you done Hurdle?
I've not done Hurdle. I also do Dordle, which is 2, and Octordle, which is 8. And Worldle, which is a map geography. Ofer, have not gotten that one yet.
I'm not even going to try that one.
No.
Anyway, Hurdle is very fun. I did my first one this morning. I got it on the first try. Very easy one. Okay, listener hot takes from Reckles fan 18. Chase Edmonds can go early second round. He was super efficient last year, but lost all of the goal line work to James Conner. Now he fills a terrible backfield with an upgraded line and a coaching staff for the run game. So that's the hot take. It's very pro Chase Edmonds. I actually saw a little bit of Chase Edmonds love in this hot takes thread. So Jamie, it would just require the Dolphins really using him that way. What do you think about this hot take of Chase Edmonds? Okay, we're not going to take him in the second round, but you get the point. Having a big
if they get a revamped offensive line and nobody else shows up, meaning nobody else, like he's the only running back on the roster, then maybe.
What if it's Myles Gaskin and him?
No. It has to be nobody else. 100% of the touches go to Chase Edmonds. I mean, look, yes, there's definitely possibility for him to have a significant upgrade in his value and production because Mike McDaniel hopefully brings a similar system that he was part of in San Francisco. And Chase Edmonds does get the type of workload that he was getting with the Cardinals last year when things were right for him, or even when things have been right for him during his time in Arizona. But it's very hard to imagine that there's not going to be somebody else sharing touches with him based on the 49ers system. But obviously this offensive line needs to improve and improve in a big way.
Yeah, go get Teron Armstead. Let's start with that. There's still some decent offensive linemen out there, but
Well, didn't they sign somebody today?
Yeah, Cowboys guard
Connor McGovern or
Connor Williams, I think.
Connor Williams.
Connor's right.
I probably
I think
combined.
it is Connor Williams.
Okay. Conor McGregor, they signed. Okay, go sign somebody. All right, more hot takes. Kenny Parker says, by the time redraft season starts, Amari Cooper will be valued at least a round higher than he is this week.
Not by me.
Um,
Well, I take that back. Deshaun Watson goes to Cleveland. His value will be higher.
I don't know where he's valued right now.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think I'm probably going to be the high guy on him. But I think I'm like a round 5 range. Round 4 or 5.
I think that is going to be the high guy on him.
Yeah, round 6 for me. So you're higher than me.
Okay. What do you think he'll have any chance of being a round 4 guy by the time draft season rolls around?
If Watson's there, yes. If
No.
Baker's there, no.
What if it's Derek Carr? He's reunited with Derek Carr in Cleveland.
No.
Okay.
Unless Stefanski's gone.
That's pretty interesting. If he has Derek Carr, I think he 5th round.
Well, I mean, why are they shuffling in one okay quarterback for one okay quarterback? Carr's better than Baker, but I mean,
Yeah.
what's
He might be a lot better than Baker.
I just don't know because Baker was already unhappy, right?
Huh?
Baker was already unhappy, and they had to have a meeting with him and tell him we're not trying to bring somebody else in, and now they're having phone calls with Deshaun Watson. That may be an untenable situation.
I mean, if I'm the Browns, I don't care about Baker's feelings. Go out and play if you want to get your next contract.
Okay, by the way, the Cowboys do have a center named Connor McGovern, and the Dolphins signed Connor Williams.
Yeah, they're not sure if they're going to play him at guard or tackle yet.
Okay. McGovern is not the center. He is their left guard on Dallas. Okay, back to the things that people care about. From Tesla Tunnel. I saw a Tesla on the road today. I really would like a Tesla. If anybody, we have a promo code maybe. Kyle Pitts will massively underperform expectations. Vacated targets aren't a thing, and teams will double team Kyle Pitts as needed.
I mean, it's certainly a concern based on the offense, as you brought up, Adam, that it's going to right now potentially be a terrible offense. But we still don't know what this looks like. And again, he may have Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball because that seems to be the destination that appears to be the one that Deshaun Watson is favoring. I don't quite know why, aside from he was once a ball boy for the Falcons, is what I read today. But in any case, the setup right now is a little troubling for Pitts. On one hand, on the other side, I don't think it's vacated targets. I think if he has 10 to 15 more targets just by natural progression for a guy going from year 1 to year 2, he's going to be a top 5 leader in targets at the tight end position, and that's hard to overlook.
Heath, you write a whole thing about vacated targets.
Yeah.
Defend its honor.
I don't agree that they don't exist. I do mostly agree that targets are earned. But what I generally do, and I call it the opportunity index, but it is a good tool when heading into free agency, heading into the draft to see who has room, who doesn't. If somebody gets added and they didn't have any room, then who's losing? I don't know. Pitts doesn't really need to see a big increase in targets next year to meet expectations. He just needs to score a touchdown every once in a while.
That'd be nice.
Do you have an example of vacated targets from a year ago that somebody stepped into and was great? Like I could see maybe like an Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think that was the first one I thought of was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, because I don't know that they had any returning targets from last year at wide receiver. It would take me a very short period of time to pull that up. And I'll circle back.
Yeah, well, you could make the argument, you could do an in-season vacated targets and look at a guy like Russell Gage, right?
Right. Well, I think even going into last year, because they were their first year without Julio, and he had quite a few targets, even though he was getting 10 targets a game in the game he was playing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who else?
The most vacated targets at wide receiver last year was the Detroit Lions by over 100 targets.
Anything else? Anyone like any?
Like the Jacksonville Jaguars had a lot, but that didn't work out so well because those guys didn't. They averaged like 5 yards per attempt. Let's see.
Hey, we got to talk about DJ Chark. Actually, he's fairly significant. All right, let's do another listener hot take, and then we'll get to the news and notes, the other stuff. Russell Wilson's. This is from Adam, not from me. Russell Wilson's presence in Denver will limit Javonte Williams' total target upside and cause him to be a bust in 2022. Javonte Williams will finish outside the top 15.
I guess you're banking on Russell's track record of not necessarily throwing to his running backs, right?
Right.
So you got two things at play there. You have one, the quarterback and his track record, and then you have the play caller and his track record with a different set of running backs. Javonte versus the Seattle guys. So, you brought this up time and again, Adam, how the Packers, which Nathaniel Hackett was there for a big part of this, under Matt LaFleur, the second leading target guy was Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a system thing or is that an Aaron Rodgers thing? And so we'll find out if Nathaniel Hackett's going to carry that over. When he was in Jacksonville, I think he threw to his running backs, if I'm not mistaken, to Fournette during the season or two that they were together. I would think that Javonte Williams, assuming that there's nobody of significance, and there's at least one report that Melvin Gordon is not returning to Denver. If that's the case, and we're talking about Mike Boone or, a day 2 rookie or day 3 rookie or another retread veteran guy, I think Javonte Williams is in a good spot. It's hard to overlook the potential of that offense and what his role should be in that offense.
One other thing to keep in mind, and we'll see if this is an NFL trend or not, but there were 3 running backs who finished top 5 last year. Let me just make sure I'm on the right scoring. I want to say 3 running backs that finished top 5. Yes, with 42 or fewer catches. It was Jonathan Taylor was number 1, Joe Mixon, James Conner. They had 37 to 42 catches. And that is
per game. Henry would have been there too, right?
Yeah, but he actually, I don't know what his pace was for catches. He had quite a few at the beginning of the year anyway. But it was almost like, I brought this up all the time. It was almost impossible to finish as a top 5 PPR or any format, top 5 running back with fewer than 50 catches in a 16-game season. We had 3 guys have 42 or fewer catches in a 17-game season and finish top 5. So maybe it's not as important as it once was. Heath, I know McCaffrey and Barkley have been hurt. But also maybe it's just a trend. Like, I know you've pointed out teams are throwing fewer times to their running backs now.
Yeah, but I think there is some risk that he could be a bust and be a top 15 running back because, like, I saw a lot of stuff yesterday saying, well, if it's Javonte Williams and Mike Boone, then I want Javonte Williams over Najee Harris now because Trubisky's the quarterback. And so if Javonte starts being drafted as a top 5 pick or as a top 5 running back and finishes as a low end number 1, then you're not going to be very happy with that anyway. But I don't think that, like, this guy's bold prediction that he's going to finish outside the top 15 running backs, unless Melvin goes out into the world and finds out he can't get the money that he wants. And that whole tweet was the Broncos saying, we're not going to pay him the money he wants. And he goes back for a cheap contract. I think Javonte Williams is probably going to be a top 15 running back.
Also, keep in mind, how many top 15 running backs has Russell Wilson had? He's had a bunch. Chris Carson is always around there. And Marshawn Lynch was top 5, right? So top 15, he should be top 15. But let me follow up with this. Is it really so crazy to take Javonte Williams over Najee Harris if Javonte Williams has really no significant competition in his backfield?
Not crazy. They're not going to be far apart from me if there's nobody else there in Denver.
I think it's easy to do.
Yeah.
He's going to be on, you figure, a much better offense.
Right.
I think it's easy to justify.
It's a better quarter. Look, Trubisky may be great, but he's not better than Russ. And offensive line probably favors Denver. Team favors Denver. Situation, who knows? Probably a wash because Denver's going to be in a lot of tough games. But I don't think that's a bad thing for Javonte. So you just have one guy did it over the course of the season in pretty miserable conditions. Bad offensive line. Mediocre quarterback. Just Only thing that you could say that was good for Najee, which not necessarily changes Trubisky, because at least we saw it with Trubisky. He throws to his backs. He may not throw it to the same level out of need like Roethlisberger did because he's just not mobile. But I don't think they're far off if it's Javonte by himself.
Okay. In the chat here on YouTube, if some misspellings of Jamie's name.
Good.
And Derek Richard, who's always in the chat, said prediction for this season: 12,543 people will spell Jamie incorrectly when referencing Jamie. And I noticed Jamie sent an email to colleagues a couple of weeks ago asking if we could do a draft, the rookie only draft. And someone responded to Jamie's email, someone who has worked with Jamie for years and years.
No. That was on purpose, though.
Oh,
that was because Nando used to call me Jamie.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And that's what that was. Or it could have been Jaime.
Okay.
Because that colleague has called me multiple times.
That is wild. But all right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we will talk about DJ.
It would be bad because that person you're referencing does put together my stories for me. So if he spelled my name wrong.
Maybe on the bad stories, he just pretend it's a different person.
That'd be good. I would welcome that.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go through all the notes here. DJ Chark, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, CJ Uzama, Andrew Whitworth.
Or Dan Arnold.
Sorry, Heath. All right, we'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. And we're back. All right, so quarterback news, there's not much right now. Deshaun Watson, report from Schefter that the Falcons are a suitor. Jamie already mentioned that. Deshaun Watson was apparently a ball boy for the Falcons. I didn't know that. Thank you, Jamie. Also, you got the Saints. It looks like the AFC South, very interested. Panthers, Saints, and Falcons, very interested in
the Saints. Reportedly today are in the positive with their cap space.
What is the point of staying under the cap? You know, it's so easy to manipulate. It's so easy to get under the cap. I feel like every year the Saints and the Cowboys are in cap hell, and nothing ever comes of it.
Well, like we've seen the Cowboys have lost a couple of really good players this year. The Saints have had to cut a lot of guys over the last 2 years.
The Cowboys, in particular, they had to move on from Cooper to keep DeMarcus Lawrence. And so that was a priority for them. But they lost Randy Gregory in the process.
Yeah, but they obviously had enough money for him because they thought they were signing him.
Yeah, but I mean, they were trying to maneuver things around. They had to cut Greg Zuerlein. That's a big loss.
Yeah, well, look, obviously you can't keep everyone, but these teams seem to do just fine being in cap hell all the time. Anywho, the Jets re-signed Tevin Coleman. We'll go to our running back news.
Start with the big one.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Buffalo signs J.D. McKissic to a 2-year, $7 million deal.
Very interesting sign.
And, actually we have some pass-catching running backs in the news here. So J.D. McKissic to the Bills. Boston Scott did not get tendered by the Eagles. And the Patriots bring back James White on a 2-year, $5 million deal. He missed most of the season with a hip injury, but he had 12 catches in 2 games. So, all right, Jamie, what do you think is the most interesting here? McKissic to the Bills, Boston Scott not getting tendered, and the Patriots re-signing James White.
They're all interesting because they all have, domino effects for either the respective backfields that they're part of or the ones that they are leaving. McKissic's the one I think that, is the one that needs the most probably discussion just because Singletary was coming off this amazing stretch run. And can he still be on the field as much if there's now a significant upgrade as a pass catching running back? Because I don't think Matt Breida was this. Obviously, Zach Moss is not this. And so, Singletary was somebody that, I know we've had conversations. Breakout candidate, somebody should be drafted in the first 3 rounds. I don't know if that should still be the case anymore. He's still the best running back in Buffalo, but his upside feels a little bit capped right now because of maybe a loss in the passing game. And it could hurt the receivers there in Buffalo as well, because McKissic, again, brings a different dimension that they've never had with Josh Allen there.
Heath?
Yeah, it's 100% McKissic was the most interesting of those to me, just because of what Gibson could be. That offense has been one of the most running back centric offenses, kind of like an Anthony Lynn type deal, where there's a lot of touches for backs. And if it's Gibson and Patterson, then I think I'm probably going to be really, really high on Gibson and probably a borderline first round pick. Singletary and McKissic are now both flexes for me in Buffalo. And if it doesn't really kind of takes away any appeal if they were to draft somebody to replace Singletary as well.
So what about James White? Like I said, 6 catches in each of the 2 games that he played.
A lesser version of McKissic. Like, I don't know if he can stay healthy at this point in his career. And it does. I took a little bit away from Harris and Stevenson in the passing game, just a tiny bit, because if White does stay healthy, I think they're more likely to bring him onto the field to do things than they would have been with Brandon Bolden.
Okay. And what about this Boston Scott news, Jamie? What do you think it means for Miles Sanders, if anything?
I hope it means great things for him and Gainwell. Jordan Howard's a free agent, so we'll see what happens there. But if they go into the season with those 2 guys at the top of their depth chart and not anybody that has been there before, in the case of Howard or Scott, and the reports coming out of Philadelphia, this does not mean that Scott is gone. It just means that they just didn't tender him. But it would be surprising, I guess, at this point if he did come back. But whatever they do to fill out their backfield is going to be telling, because clearly Sanders had a hard time staying healthy the last 2 seasons for the course of the season. And is Gainwell ready to step into that secondary role? So should be excited about both these guys as it stands right now. So it's a good situation for them, barring whatever else they do, fill out their backfield.
To call him a pass catching running back, Boston Scott might be a bit of a reach. He has 62 catches in 45 games in his career. So
yeah, and like really, if Boston Scott was a threat to Miles Sanders, then somebody on the roster is probably going to be a threat to Miles Sanders.
Right. Oh, poor Miles Sanders. Free Miles Sanders, I say.
Yeah, maybe.
Wide receivers. Detroit signed DJ Chark to a 1-year, $10 million deal. He broke his ankle in week 4, missed most of the season. Zay Jones gets 3 years, $24 million. And again, it's not all guaranteed or anything. The numbers are always higher than what the contracts end up being, and not always, but often. The Bucs signed Russell Gage. Dolphins signed Cedric Wilson. Green Bay looks like they're going to keep Allen Lazard. That's pretty much, I talked about McKenzie earlier, but since we last spoke, that's what I got. What do you think about Chark on the Lions? Is this a downgrade for Hawkinson? Is this a downgrade now for Amon-Ra St. Brown? Heath, your reaction?
I dinged Amon-Ra St. Brown just a tiny bit. I'm not even sure if I should have. I saw an interesting question. Like, if you stack up ARSB and Hawkinson and Chark and Swift, how do those 4 rank in targets next year? And I don't know that we know, but I wouldn't probably put Chark first or second. He's just really never been a big target guy. He did have 118 in 15 games in 2019, but I think that if he's able to get all the way back to what he was, then he will help Jared Goff and maybe open things up short a little bit for Hawkinson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I don't think he's going to take a bunch of targets away from St. Brown.
Jamie, your thoughts on the Lions passing game?
Well, I generally agree with Heath. I think, when you talk about St. Brown, it's not just Chark, it's Hawkinson back and it's Swift back, and it's, putting the whole puzzle together. And if, Antoine Randall, the receivers coach there, has his way and they get another guy, which is certainly possible in the draft, then you're looking at a better receiving core and a better team, but not necessarily helping, the guy who helped a lot of fantasy managers down the stretch last season. So St. Brown was already heading in a bad direction because of the additional mouths coming back due to health. And now you bring in a guy like DJ Chark, who's clearly an upgrade. They also brought back Khalif Raymond as well today. So for what that's worth, he'll be more of a special teams guy, but, stepped up and filled the role. I think it was a career high 48 catches, if I saw. So, you're starting to see what this, Lions team is looking like. It's a great signing because you get a guy coming off an injury that still has plenty of upside. He doesn't necessarily do his best things, don't necessarily fit with what Jared Goff's best things are, which is not necessarily throwing the ball down the field. He's kind of trending in the wrong direction when it comes to that. But I think you look at just the overall, picture here for Detroit. It's a downgrade for St. Brown to whatever degree.
And he plays almost exclusively out wide, DJ Chark. So he's not one of those guys that moves around a lot. And the middle of the field is kind of Goff's thing. But, the Lions offense, actually, that last 6-game stretch where Amon-Ra St. Brown went nuts and was a top 3 wide receiver overall, top 5 per game. The Lions offense really wasn't that bad. If you look at their points per game, it's pretty solid, actually. Points per game in those last 6 games, it would have been good enough to be 16th for a full season. So they were an average offense, and they had a few games with around 30 points. And Jared Goff played 4 of those games, and he was on pace for a pretty good. He was good. They were good down the stretch. I don't know if they can carry that over. They didn't have Hawkinson for 5 of those 6 games. They didn't have Swift, I think, for 4 of those 6 games. Yet they still were putting up points, and they were doing it with Tim Boyle a couple of games too. Does anybody think this is a sleeper offense?
By definition, yes. It's a good offensive line. It's, very good running back, obviously, that can do a variety of things. Top 10 tight end, not just fantasy, but obviously reality, if things come together for him. I think it's just a matter of the perception of Goff is obviously not the best, and he has to do that more than just a 6-game stretch. He has to do it over, 17 games. And I don't remember all their opponents, but schedule is going to matter. So, Packers defense might be a little bit worse because of some of the guys that they lost. Vikings are going through a transition with a new coach. Bears, new coach. So division might be a little bit easier defensively if you want to look at it that way. So I think it is a sleeper offense. I think there's certainly a lot of pieces that we like fantasy-wise. But, when you start to compare them to the top-tier offenses in the league, more times than not, the other team you're stacking them up against is going to be the one you choose.
It's funny because a sleeper offense in the sense that they could be better than everybody thinks they're going to be. Yeah. But Swift's probably going to be a 2nd-round pick, and Hawkinson's going to be a top 6 tight end drafted, and everybody's kind of excited about what St. Brown's going to do. I guess Chark might be a sleeper on the offense. It'd be a sleeper offense without any sleepers.
It is interesting. If Swift, Brown, or St. Brown, pardon me, and Hawkinson are all picked in the first 6 rounds, is that fair?
That seems fairish.
Yep.
If they have a bad year offensively, that's not going to go well. To have 3 players that are all top 70 overall in fantasy, you can't have a terrible offense and have that.
Right.
Right?
They just brought Khalif Raymond back as well. And Josh Reynolds is signed to a 2-year deal. So they've got all kinds of weapons.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So tight ends. All right. So the Jaguars signed Evan Ingram to a 1-year, $9 million deal. Then you got the Colts re-signing Mo Alley Cox. The Seahawks bringing back Will Dissly, 3 years, $24 million. I think same contract numbers for CJ Uzomah on the Jets. Uzomah finished strong last year. Is Ingram the most interesting one here, Heath?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he can separate. The Dan Arnold jokes I will take for at least a couple of weeks, but if he separates, because they kind of had a 2 tight end system generally in Philadelphia. I think both those guys will probably play. And over the past couple of years, at least on a per target basis, Ingram's been the worst tight end in football. So how much does he improve? I have him as a high end number 2 tight end, I think 16 to 18, and Arnold's around 24 now. But if one of those guys could earn 110 targets, they could be really good.
How about Njoku, Howard, and Ingram? All 1st-round picks that year. Didn't really work out.
And 2 of them are getting $10 million this year.
Yeah. Maybe Howard will too. You never know.
I guess Ingram's getting 9.
Yeah. What am I supposed to make of the Jaguars offense right now? I hate it. I really, if I were a Jaguars fan, I would not be happy.
Why do you hate it?
They've got, to me, 1 player I'm excited about. Now, it's the most important position, maybe ETN, but I hate it. I just hate what they've done. I think.
Well, why do you hate what they've done?
I think they did what the Patriots did last year. They spent too much money on players that don't deserve it.
Well, part of that for Jacksonville, the Patriots, I think, overspent really on 2 guys, right? Or
Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. You could argue they overspent on all of them.
Who was the first one you said?
Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, Bourne and Aguilar, yeah. Part of the reason for the Jaguars spending, some stuff that I read yesterday, is they have to, because nobody wants to go there. And so, it's kind of like, hey, come. Well, I don't know. You're Jacksonville. Okay, we'll give you $10 million more than you're expecting. Okay, I'm here. Because the Kirk deal, it really, when you break it down, it's like a 2-year, $37 million deal. I think $38 million deal. Mm-hmm. So that's what, $19 million a year. My math's right. People are expecting to get 15 a year, in most places. So there's the slight overpay. The defensive guys, the slight overpay, but I mean, they got one of the premier offensive linemen available in Scherf. They got a guy in Kirk. Yes, we can all crap on his numbers, but around the league, he has a good reputation coming from the team that he's coming from. He has a good, standing, that people thought he was a better player, not necessarily performer, but better player in terms of how he carried himself than DeAndre Hopkins, if you hear some of the things coming out of Arizona. And you have to put weapons around your young quarterback. I mean, that's kind of been the formula for how these guys have improved. And so obviously it's not a Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo, a Hopkins going to Arizona, Kenny Galladay, if you want to put him in that category. The Giants, what they try to do is probably closer to that. But you got to overpay. So they're overpaying, to get some of these guys. The Zay Jones deal makes no sense to me. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, I think if you look at the Patriots last year, it made them better. It made them better, right? I mean, look, maybe they overpaid for those guys, but it helped. And this will help Jacksonville. I'm not any more excited about Trevor Lawrence than I was from a fantasy standpoint.
Well, you should be somewhat more excited.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, it's better now. It's not in a significant way. And
right, I think if you
could do about that, it's
if
not.
You go back to a year ago and post draft when we're talking about Marvin Jones, DJ Chark, and Laviska Shenault, now you're saying it's Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, and Zay Jones. Because there's some talk about Shenault getting shipped out the door. Evan Ingram versus what they had at tight end. So you want to get to the trade part of it. So it's Dan Arnold. I mean, it's all basically a wash. But I think you factor in Doug Peterson over Urban Meyer. That's a win. You factor in the Scherf signing over what they had last year and Cam Robinson staying. I think that's a win.
Yeah, so Peterson is a win over Urban Meyer, but do you think he's a win overall? Because it certainly seemed like teams figured him out, and they got worse offensively every single year in Philadelphia. And
but is that him or is that the Wentz-Foles combination?
I don't know. I mean, it was the same quarterback, right? It was Wentz for most of it when he was healthy, and they just kept getting worse and worse offensively, and he lost his job.
But there was also some things in the building though that I think factored into.
Yeah, but if you're gonna run your offense through your tight ends, I just think that's such limited upside.
Well, and it also might be like I thought they were the team that should go send a 5th round pick to the Cowboys and get Amari Cooper because you knew you were going to have to overpay for a free agent. Would you rather have Amari Cooper or Christian Kirk and a 5th round pick?
Cooper.
I think most people would take Cooper now, but you're also looking, there's a 4-year age difference there.
Right.
And so, how much does that factor in? So, yeah, I think, if you're looking to develop Trevor Lawrence, you want to give him the best weapons possible. And if you're going to overpay for, better players at this point. But we had this Kirk conversation yesterday. I don't know if he's going to be a great fantasy receiver, but we've also never seen him in this role before completely, where the dedication to him is as the number one guy. Can he fulfill it? We'll probably all say no. Don't expect him to be a true number one guy, an alpha receiver. I mean, he doesn't profile like that, at least based on what we've seen. But who knows? I mean, there may be that opportunity for him. And so I think you just kind of, take it that it's seemingly better. Probably the perception of what you said, Adam, is correct, is that it's frustrating to be a Jaguars fan right now. But at least, they're doing what they have to do because of the state of their franchise. They have to overpay. They have to try and reach for some guys, and they have to kind of hope that it hits. I mean, think about their drafts and how their draft picks have failed. They just releasing Miles Jack, or they're expected to release Miles Jack.
Yeah.
Fournette didn't stay, didn't work out. Jalen Ramsey didn't want to stay. They get these guys. Blake Bortles was a whiff. They just continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake. Maybe it's Shad Khan. Maybe it was David Caldwell. Maybe it's, now Trent Baalke, who's got a horrible reputation around the league. So at some point they got to start to, find the right thing to make it work. And who knows if what they're doing this time around is the right thing.
I guess I can't totally blame them. Look, you have all this money to spend and not the best free agent crop, right? It's just face facts. It's like some years in the NBA draft where you've got these elite players at the top and you've got this you can get not Giannis, you can get Durant, and then other years you're getting the guy that Michael Jordan drafted. What was his name?
The guy that Jordan drafted?
Yeah, to the Wizards.
Oh, Kwame Brown,
right? So it's just bad luck, I guess, for the Jaguars that they weren't able to go out and get that franchise altering player. But yeah, I don't know.
And they might in the draft.
They might. I mean, they're probably going to go on the line, right? They're probably either going to take Hutchinson or
yeah, unless they trade down. They're not drafting a receiver. I think at 1.
No. When was the last time the number? I have no idea. By the way, the last time the number 1 overall pick was a senior, not an underclassman, because that's what Hutchinson is, and that's unusual. I think. I don't know. I'd like to look into
Baker
this.
was a junior.
Think so.
I don't know what this transfer status, what that meant.
Yeah, I think he was a junior. Yeah, it's unusual.
Burrow. No,
Burrow, right?
Burrow, I think, had another year of eligibility.
He was like his 6th year in college.
That's true, because he wasn't a good prospect.
He wasn't a good prospect. He might have been. I think he was a 4th-year junior, but I will check on that.
I'm looking right now. He was a 5th-year senior.
Okay. All right.
So
well,
20.
Well, he was a good prospect. He would have gone sooner.
The 2020 draft was the last time that a senior was the first-round pick.
I'd like to know. I think
to go.
I think it's pretty unusual, though. I think it's pretty unusual for a senior to be the number 1 pick. But okay, not that
I know
unusual.
it's happened once in the last 2 drafts.
Damn it! Now I'm going to look into this. Okay, Andrew Whitworth, give me some offensive line reactions. If there's anything that really jumps out at you, I'm not going to go through all the notes.
I like the Dolphins getting Connor Williams. I think that's important. Help their situation. Most of the ones we talked about yesterday, I think, were more impactful.
Steelers got a little better.
Andrew Whitworth retiring from the Rams, starting left tackle.
Right, but they bring back Brian Allen, and we talked about this, I think, yesterday, that Notaboom can play left tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I have time to look into all these NFL drafts. Okay. So, damn it. All right, let's go to defense. Anything on defense jump out at you guys? By the way, the Giants signed 2 starters on their offensive line. That should help.
Bills too, right?
The Bills, the Bills, yes, they did stuff.
Or did they just keep guys? I know they kept Mitch Morse.
They kept Mitch Morse. They lost Jonathan Feliciano, but he was a backup.
They lost Darrell Williams.
They lost Darrell Williams. Yeah, I think they've probably downgraded a little bit on the line, but probably not significantly.
So Kyler Murray wasn't a senior, but he was a 4th-year junior. So basically a senior.
No. He was a junior. Okay, I could.
This is all I'm doing now for the rest of the show.
It matters. It matters. Years of experience. It matters. Baker Mayfield. Okay. So let's end the show. I think we should end the show, unless you guys have anything else to.
Well, I mean, we're probably gonna be doing this again in like an hour once there's some significant news.
That's what I said yesterday.
Deshaun Watson coming around the
Baker Mayfield.
So who's left? Let's do some destinations. Who's left?
Baker Mayfield was a senior, by the way. So that's 2 of the last 4 drafts.
I thought Baker was. Yeah. So rare.
They're quarterbacks, though. I mean, a senior defensive end. That's got to be rare.
So rare.
I can't wait to talk to Emory Hunt about this.
Let's do destinations for the guys who are left.
Okay, you do it. I'll do this. I'm doing this draft thing.
All right. So Heath, where do you want Deshaun Watson?
I mean, do I have to choose between Carolina and the Saints? Because it seems like it's one of those. If I could choose anywhere that doesn't have a quarterback right now, I would choose Seattle. But it seems like Seattle's been ruled out. So I will say
you got Atlanta, Carolina, and
Carolina will be my choice.
Carolina will be your choice. That's what I said yesterday too. The running backs are left. So we have Fournette, we have Gordon, we have those are the 2 big ones, right? No,
I'd like to see Melvin and Tampa Bay.
Huh?
I'd like to see Melvin and Tampa Bay.
Not Fournette going back?
I thought that they kind of like the Melvin going back to Denver thing. They'd kind of decided that wasn't going to be a thing.
I think the Fournette news came though before Brady decided to play again. So I wonder if they just run it back. If Fournette goes back to Tampa Bay, where are you drafting?
Round 2, round 3.
Fournette or James Conner? What do you like better?
Probably will have Conner just ahead of Fournette. Assuming they haven't added anybody besides Benjamin.
And where did you
But
put
yeah.
Connor?
Connor, I have 12th at running back right now.
Yeah, I have him 13th. Dave, I think, was a low guy, 17.
Yeah, I'd probably have Fournette somewhere between 12 and 15. There's a lot of guys in that range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Allen Robinson, where do you want to go?
Atlanta for sure. Go get him 150 targets for Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan goes to Houston. What do you think of Brandon Cooks?
Matt Ryan goes to Houston. Brandon Cooks is a high-end number 2 wide receiver, which is where I have him now. I'm not sure it would matter as much to me, the difference between him and Mills.
Really? I feel like it should.
You think it's better for Cooks?
He said it doesn't really. Of course, I think he's better than Davis Mills for Brandon Cooks. Yeah. Is that a hot take? I didn't think that'd be a hot take.
Well, I mean, Matt Ryan's allergic to throwing his number 1 guy touchdowns.
Yeah. Was Davis Mills a senior? That's what I want to know.
Almost
certainly. I don't think he was.
No.
By the way, it was. I think it is pretty rare. Baker Mayfield was a senior. Then I had to go back to 2013 to Eric Fisher. That was the last time.
Davis Mills was a senior.
Another lineman.
What's that?
Another lineman.
Davis Mills
was a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, but before that, you had like Jadeveon Clowney wasn't. It's been mostly quarterbacks, to be quite honest with you. But I stand by what I said. It's rare.
All right.
Medium rare. Okay, thank you guys. Fun show. We have another one tomorrow. There's a lot of names out there. Like we're waiting for Watson, Garoppolo could be moved. And
there was I think I saw something that Garoppolo may not get traded till the summer.
Yeah, I did see that too. I also saw that they might just stick with him. So there's been a ton of reports about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, that's probably just driving the price.
Remember when Tom Brady's going to San Francisco? So I don't pay attention too much to reports right now.
No.
What? What?
Oh, so who's better, Daniel Jones or Mitchell Trubisky? Now that we have destinations, what's the bet between you two?
Is it fantasy?
No, my thing was if Trubisky went to the Giants, he would win.
Yeah, but now they're both starters. They can go head to head.
Who will be better in what regard?
Who's a better fantasy quarterback for the 2022 season?
I think I have Jones higher in fantasy. I mean, I'm sure Trubisky will win more games. He's always been a better real life quarterback.
I'd take Trubisky. I would take Trubisky over Jones, I think.
Yeah.
The more I thought about it, he really might be better than Jones. Jones is so bad. Well, thanks for watching and listening, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today. It is time to end this show and this fun.